Hi, this is Judy, and I am with HomeschoolCon.org. And I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about homeschool curriculums, because that seems to be the very first question that everybody asks when they're thinking about homeschooling. So I know we have a lot of people that are thinking about homeschooling right now, and I wanted to answer some of those questions. So this is called Why Your Homeschool Friends Can't Answer What Does It Cost to Homeschool. And that is because it costs a whole lot, huge range to depend upon what you're looking for. So my name is Judy Peterson, and I was a homeschool mom for 16 years. I just recently graduated my second child, and you can find my information over at HomeschoolCon.org. So first thing is you need to know that each state has different homeschool laws. And so you can go to study.com, and they have this at the very bottom of their front page. And you can type in your name of your state, and it will tell you what the laws are. I can tell you for Texas that the laws are a lot less stringent than some other states. There are certain things that you must do, and that would be you have to teach reading, writing, arithmetic, good citizenship, and math. And those things have to be taught in a way that is bona fide. You need to have something that they can look at, a visual curriculum, and it can't be a joke. It can't be a sham. So those are basically the laws for Texas. You basically go and declare yourself a public school. You go and declare yourself a private school, and that is officially what you are considered in Texas. So there are a couple different ways to go. The first one is that you need to know that the homeschool community for many, many years has been strictly Christian. Those are the people that have decided to homeschool in the past, for the most part, not everybody. But Christians have been the largest group for a long time. And so there are a lot of curriculums that are based on Christian beliefs and on Christian views. So if you're not Christian, there are things out there for you, but keep in mind that the majority of the curriculums out there are based on Christian views. There are also lots of support groups based for Christians. Not all of them are only for Christians. Most of them are run by Christians. So it just depends upon what you're looking for. You do want to find yourself a support group. That's one of the most important things to do as a homeschooler. So increasingly, people are leaving the public school system for various reasons. Some are leaving them for not enough stringent teaching. Some of them are leaving them for bullying. Others are leaving them for health reasons. So those are things that you have to consider as you are looking at homeschooling. Or you can consider homeschooling for a long time. Are you planning on putting them right back in school as soon as the COVID thing is over? Those are things that you'll have to decide as you're looking at these curriculums. So there are non-religious curriculums. I'm going to go over a bunch of different curriculums. Some of them I have used, a lot of them I have used, and some of them I just know people that have used, and some of them I just found because I'm not familiar with them. So I'll tell you which ones are which. Here are the curriculums, the long-term homeschooling or short-term, choosing a curriculum based upon many factors. Okay, so choosing a curriculum is based on many factors. Are you long-term homeschooling or short-term? Are your learning styles and your teaching styles should be considered. If your kid doesn't like to use workbooks are not going to work. The ages of kids is also something that you should consider. And so we're going to start here with the Well-Trained Mind. The Well-Trained Mind is a group of curriculums that are based on classical ideals for studying. Classical is generally considered your higher standard, straightforward learning processes. The classical education can include Latin. It can include math. It's a very structured curriculum. It's not what they use in the public schools. A lot of private schools use it. If you see somebody using a Becca, that is a classical education tool. The Well-Trained Mind has a huge book that is considered the Bible for the classical education, and it's written by a lady named Jessie Wise, and you can find it at your library or you can find it in the bookstores. They have a number of different curriculum pieces available. I don't know that they've packaged it as a whole, but we're going to talk about a number of different ones because I really liked that curriculum when I was teaching my children. So the Well-Trained Mind is the first one, and it's foundations for schooling in a classical manner. They have math, they have history, they have English, they have a really nice little reading curriculum for first and second grades. That's what I taught my children to read and to do a little bit of grammar with when they were very, very young. And I really liked that. So let's see here. Abeka, we just talked about them. They are, a lot of private schools will use Abeka. And Abeka can be very expensive if you buy it new. You can buy it used sometimes. Abeka has videos that you can use to teach your children, and the teachers actually get on there and they teach the subjects. You will also get books, and they will keep your grades for you. They will keep all of the record keeping. They are also accredited. Accredited things are generally more expensive than the non-accredited things. The only reason you would really need the accredited things is if you plan to put them back into a public school at some point or into a private school. If you're using Abeka, it's one of those that they really keep good track of it, and it's generally accepted amongst public and private schools as a curriculum that is acceptable in their view. So that can run anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a year per child. The Bob Jones University, Abeka is Christian-based. The Bob Jones University is also Christian-based. I really liked the Bob Jones University curriculum when I was doing it. It's very detailed. It's also, I would say it's also a classical structure. They have really good reading, and I really liked their science and their history curriculums, especially science. It seemed very structured, and it was very easy to follow. And they had tests, they had reading workbooks, they had all of that sort of thing. Abeka has that as well. It is also, I believe, an accredited curriculum. You can also get standardized testing through Bob Jones, and you can take that at the end of each year, and they will use that as a thing to place your children if you go back into public school or especially private school. Another is the Alpha and Omega Press. They have several different online curriculums. The Online Monarch, I have several friends that have used the Online Monarch curriculum. They keep their grading and record keeping for you as well. The Switched On Schoolhouse is for grades 3 through 12. And I used that a little bit because I found a used copy of it. My kids didn't love it. My kids don't really like the online very much. LifePack is a student-paced curriculum. That means that you go at your student's pace and you don't worry about making sure you're finished with a certain curriculum within a certain amount of time. Horizons is a teacher-led. It has cool workbooks, and I believe it's mostly for younger kids, but I don't know for sure. I've not used that one. Sunlight is another Christian curriculum, and it is another one that offers all of the subjects, or you can pick out different subjects that you like. I know a number of people that have used Sunlight. It is not as much a classical education format. It's more, I think it's based on the Charlotte Mason, which means that it's more hands-on and more kinesthetic learning. Kinesthetic means that you learn with more than one sense. There's audio learners, there's visual learners, there's kinesthetic learners. And that's one of the curriculums that I believe is more based on the Charlotte Mason. Apologia is another all-around Christian full curriculum. I don't know much about Apologia. I do know that it is definitely faith-based. I do know a number of friends that have used it and love it. So I think it's more structured, and they do have print, and they also have online and digital. My Father's World, I know very little about it. I believe it's also Charlotte Mason based, and it is Catholic. So if you're a Catholic and you're interested in a curriculum that follows the doctrines of the Catholic, My Father's World is an excellent one for that. I do know a number of friends that have used that and just love it. Charlotte Mason, we talked a little bit about that. If you're not familiar with Charlotte Mason, she's the one who founded the Montessori schools. So this is a curriculum that is based on the same stuff that they use at the Montessori schools. This person has cmplenary.com. She spoke at our conference, and she was excellent listening to, and she told us an awful lot about what Charlotte Mason curriculum is like. It's got a lot of small lessons, short lessons, but they're very in-depth, and they also use narration to cement the thought process. Basically, narration is when you teach a child something and then they repeat it back to you, and that gives them a little bit more recall on it, and it is definitely not a classical based curriculum. K-12, you hear a lot about K-12. K-12 is, if you do the public version, it is a what do they call that? Okay, if you do K-12 public version, it is a charter school. So as a charter school, you get all of the books, you get all of the lessons online, and you are, as a parent, required to put in all of the time that your child spends on certain things, and the child is required to spend a certain amount of time on each subject. So it can take up to 8 hours a day to do the subjects on K-12 public charter school. The charter school, now you're only available, K-12 is only available for public school on 3rd grade and up. So if you want to do kindergarten through 2nd grade, you have to go with their private academy. You can also do the private academy all the way through if you want to pay for it. And the grades will be kept for you, and it's a personalized program. You get a support team. You do get classes with teachers. My kids did not like K-12, but I think part of that was because we had already been homeschooling for a long time, and they don't like the online. And when we did K-12, it had just it merged with another company, and they were still trying to feel out how they were going to work it. So it was like we were doing 2 separate curriculums at the same time, and it was very confusing. So I think they have figured that out since then, and it's not a bad one if you're planning on putting your kids back to school in another semester in another year. Moving beyond the page. This is one that I found. I am not familiar with it at all. It is a secular homeschool curriculum. It talks about the science and the things like that it does. I do not know anything more about it than that, but you can find it at movingbeyondthepage.com. Milestone Books, which is Rod and Staff. Rod and Staff is old school homeschooling. It is Bible-based, it's academically sound, and you can do different publishers. It looks like it's sort of an Amish or a Mennonite lifestyle look at homeschooling. So as I said, it's old school. It's really good. There are people who love it, and I think it's one of those you probably want to check out and make sure that it's going to work for your family before you decide to buy it. CONUS is not a huge company. It is based in Texas, and they do unit studies. And unit studies are a way of doing homeschooling that is very compact. You can do it with many different age children. And I had a book of this when my kids were very small, when we were in kindergarten, and I think my son may have been 3 or preschool. And we used this. It was a lot of fun. The first unit that we did was on kings and queens, and it was a unit study that does have an element of it of faith-based, in that it had character as one of the things that we were studying. And since it was kings and queens, we were studying obedience, which is really good for a kindergartner to learn. So the study itself, we did a lot of different things. We made capes for them, for their kings and queens. We made crowns. We learned about medieval times. We read some stories about medieval times. We went to the Renaissance Festival, and the kids got to see some of the Renaissance Festival things. We learned about, at the time, they weren't writing papers, but when they get older, they can write papers on these things. They can do research. We were doing mostly fun because my kids were kindergarten and 3. So you don't do a whole lot. We were doing a lot of play. We would play kings and queens. We did all kinds of fun stuff. And the curriculum itself gives you a script in it so that you can do that with older children. It also gives you lesson plans, and it gives you assignments and all sorts of things like that. And you can bring in outside subjects. So we would bring in like the story of the emperor with no clothes and those sorts of things. It was fun. I really enjoyed Konos, and I might have enjoyed it as my kids got older, but my kids didn't want to do it as they got older. So we moved on to something else. Study.com, I mentioned this. These are the ones that have the rules for the laws for different states that are easy to find. They have personalized homeschooling for your kids. It's online, 3rd through 12th grade. And this is a non-Christian, it's a secular curriculum. And other than that, I really have no idea anything about it. So if you want to check it out, it's a study.com. It looks like they also have a 30-day money-back guarantee if you decide you don't like it, which is kind of an important thing. It's nice to know. Time for Learning is one that if you're pulling your children out for a short time and you're looking for something that's inexpensive, pre-K through 8th grade, $19.95 a month, 9th through 12th grade, $30 a month per student, each of them, and it includes 4 courses. So it's online. It is fun stuff. I don't know much about it. I know a number of friends recommend it for people who are jumping out of school for a short time and then going back in. I know you can use it for homeschooling a long time. I have a couple of friends that have done that too. Subjects that are a la carte. A la carte means just one subject or 2 subjects. Most homeschoolers, you'll find, as they've been doing it for a little while, do what we call a mishmash or eclectic approach. Basically, that means that we've decided that certain curriculums work for certain things, and then other curriculums work for other things. You may get into Abeka and you say, I love this for reading, but I hate their math. It just depends. Some people love it for everything. Some people decide that it's not what they want. Now, I didn't mention earlier, but Abeka, there's a lot of busy work in there. So you can cut down on the amount of work that your child does as long as they're getting the concepts. Abeka is really written for private schools, and so it is there to fill up 8 hours a day. So you can fill up 8 hours a day with Abeka. You can do the same thing with the Bob Jones. You don't have to. You can assign 5 problems out of the homework. You can decide what you want to offer your child. So here's some options that are specialized for different subjects. And let's see, we've got Common Sense Press. I loved this course. This was Language Arts Through Literature. And this course was used, basically they take a book, a literature book, and you read that book, and then you go through and you do the exercises in these workbooks. It also has teacher books. But the workbooks, they do vocabulary out of that book. They do, so for instance, in 2nd grade, we did Boxcar Kids, which is not a Christian book. But so this isn't really necessarily Christian, but some of the books that they assign are. I know they did Black Beauty. I know they did Boxcar Kids. Those are the 2 that I remember from it. Anne of Green Gables, I believe, was another one. So it's kind of older school literature, but it's also based for kids. So what they would do is you would take your vocabulary out of that book, and they would learn new words. You would take the vocabulary and you would have you would take a sentence or 2 sentences or a little paragraph, and you would dictate it to your child. And as your child would write it down, if they missed any words, they misspelled any words, those words would become your spelling list for the week. And so you would work on those. And so it was all based on this good writing that you get from actual literature, and they would be learning how to read and how to write from the actual literature. They would be learning grammar structure from that. I thought it was really cool, and my kids loved it when we were doing it. It has cutouts, it has fun, games and things like that that they can do to learn things. It looks like they also have learning language. These down here are the high school books, and my kids, we did that all the way through. We just did on and off the language arts through literature. This is called Handwriting Without Tears. It's for littles, for younger children, probably second grade and under, to learn how to write. And it's supposed to be without tears, and I have a number of friends that used it and loved it. I don't think that this is one that is a specifically Christian, because most of the ones that are handwriting and math are not particularly faith-based. This one, it also says here that it also helps special needs toys. It has toys and resources for special needs. But the Handwriting Without Tears, I know, is an excellent curriculum. Foursquare Writing. This was one that a friend gave me a copy of, and we got it in about 4th grade. And basically it takes these 4 writing blocks here. You put your sentence in the middle, which is your basic concept for the paper. And then you write 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, and your 4th square is your conclusion. And so it teaches you how to do points for your essays. And I really thought it was quite well done. I don't believe it is necessarily faith-based either. Wordsmith is also by Common Sense Press. This is the same people that did the language arts through literature. And these are also writing levels. And so it's levels 4 through 6, 6 through 9, and 9 through 12. I did not use these, but as I said, I love the language arts through literature. So those are things that you could probably use for writing as well. That would be really good. This one, I don't know if it's faith-based or not. I bet it probably is. Teach your child to read in 100 easy lessons. This works for some kids fantastic. It does not work for other kids. It depends upon what you want to do. They do 20, 30-minute lessons a day. Some of them really easy, some of them are a little bit harder. And I've had friends that have used this. Some of them completely taught their kids how to read with it. Others taught their kids how to read and then had to go back and do some phonics things because it wasn't working exactly well for them. Each child is completely different, so you never know. Frontline Phonics. This is what I used to teach my children to read. This was a very, very young age group curriculum. I used it for kindergarten and for my 3rd grade, my 3-year-old. My 3-year-old learned how to read with this program. My kindergartner had dyslexia, which we did not know about, and she learned to read how to read this, but then we had to go back and do some other things to make it so that she could read well. But I loved this. It's got a CD that you sing songs to. It's got these little pop-up characters, which we never really used. And then it's got all of these little readers. And the readers are at different levels, easy, medium, harder. And then you go from those and you can start reading things like the Dr. Seuss books and things like that. So I loved this program. Another one is this Play and Talk. I had a friend who loved this program, and it's probably different. It looks like it's different than what I had. It also looks like it's more for, say, 1st through 3rd graders, and because it's doing some harder endings and things like that, and it looks like it has writing on it as well. So this is one of those that she used, and she has never found anything that she liked as well, and she's been homeschooling for 30-some years. So she has this program here, and I'm going to put the. I don't think this is actually in print yet. She says it's coming back. So if you go to the info.playandtalk.com, there is information on it, and it will be starting up soon. This is more of the Well-Trained Mind. They had grammar. When my kids got into 1st grade, I started them with the grammar book, and it was a one-page lesson, everything from, okay, look at this picture and tell me what you see, and then we'll narrate what you see in that picture. And I loved that. It was first and second grade. And then they also have a reading program to learn how to read for your kids. And I really liked this program as well. This is their math program, Facts That Stick. Those are, I didn't use their math because at the time they didn't have this. So, but I really liked their stuff. This is, these are written by the lady who did, either she wrote it, the lady who wrote The Well-Trained Mind, she wrote these curriculums, the English ones. Don't know if she wrote these here, but she definitely, looks like she definitely endorses them. And then she also has a history one that I'll talk about in a little bit. Life of Fred Math. Okay, if you've got a kid who really likes reading and stories, but does not like math, Life of Fred Math is a good math curriculum. It is written as a story, and so there's an awful lot of word problems in it, which kind of freaks people out that are my generation because we hated word problems. But word problems are how you do math in the real world. So we really liked it. It's written in the style of a novel with a humorous story, and then it teaches them how to do the math. It is not a super complex engineering level math curriculum. But if your kid just needs to get through math, this is an awesome one to try. My daughter loved it. My son hated it. Times Tales are along the same lines. Times Tales are, they do a story with the times tables themselves. So it's a chair is 4 and a butterfly is 3. And so 4, which is 4 legs of the chair, and the butterfly times it equals 12. And they do a little story with it, and it's cute, it's funny, and it kind of cements, if your child has trouble memorizing facts, this is a good way to do this. It gives them a leg up. Eventually, I recommend that you teach them how to memorize the times tables. But there are some times tables that always give people problems, and this is a good way to kind of memorize those. Saxon Math. This is the one my daughter loved, The Life of Fred. My son wanted Saxon Math. Saxon Math is black and white. It's straight math curriculum. There is a script in the teacher's book that you can read to them, and it teaches the concepts on math. It's high-level math, and if you want your kid to be really, really good at math, Saxon Math is a good one to start with. Math You See is more hands-on. They do all of these little things right here, which are manipulatives. And it's good for little ones because they need to understand that numbers are just not a nebulous thing, that numbers are connected to things. Like if you have 2 tubs over there, that's actually 1, 2. And so these manipulatives really help with that a lot. And I have a number of friends who love this curriculum, and it works really well for kinesthetic learners. Teaching Textbook is another one. I believe they also have the manipulatives. I don't know much about it. It's got books and discs. It also can be done online, it looks like. And it is, says it averages about 4 to 6 per month for 12 months cost-wise. So it's not hugely expensive. I have talked to the lady who does this, who goes around and describes it to people. And it seemed like a really good one. I've never used it. I have friends who have and love it. That's there. Singapore Math is a math approach that is developed by Singapore, the schools in Singapore. And so they use abacus and they use other things like that. And so it's a very different way of thinking of math than we use in the West. But I do have a number of friends whose kids were math people, and they loved it. So it's a good one. It's a little bit different thinking. And so you want to look at that before you buy it and check it out and see if it's something that you or your child is going to really like. Rosetta Stone, this is for foreign language. Rosetta Stone is an expensive one, but it's also really good. It does you learn the language by looking at a picture as opposed to translating. Say you're learning apple in Spanish is manzana. You don't look at the word apple, you look at the picture of an apple, and you learn manzana goes with the picture of the apple. So it's supposed to teach you how to do these learning by association, and it's supposed to stick a little bit better. They do have all different kinds of languages that you can choose. It's supposed to be really good for high school as well, and it is widely accepted. It is also not cheap. Story of the World. I loved the Story of the World. And you can buy these, sometimes you can buy them used. They have a book and they have a workbook that goes with it. And the workbook, the book itself it's a storybook. It tells you the stories of the world. And it starts with the beginning in cavemen, and it moves forward from there. It is Western civilization based, and I believe it does have a bit of a Christian slant to it. But it doesn't, I mean, it's not like it tells, the story of Christ or anything like that. It talks about those times and things, but it's more centered on Romans and Greeks and those things. It's Western civilization. The workbooks, basically with the Story of the World, they talk about, you go through the story of the world. There's these 4 different levels, ancient times, the Middle Ages, early Western, and through the modern age. And that is the 4 sections of history. It goes through, I don't know if it goes through World War II, but it definitely goes through World War I and the Industrial Age. So this is, you go through this set 4 times in school, or 3 times in school. You go through it once when you're in elementary school, and the first part of the workbook has elementary school level curriculum. Then you go through it again in junior high, or 6th through 9th grade, or 6th through, I guess, 5th through 9th grade, 1st through 4th, 5th through 9th, and then the last 4 years of 5th through 8th, and then the last 4 years of high school. And the workbook is broken up into 3 levels, where you have elementary school work, middle school work, and high school work. And the elementary school work is a lot of fun. In ancient times, one of the first lessons they do is they have you go outside and pretend you're an archaeologist. So you take popsicle sticks and you do a little string across them, and you mark out a little place. You get a paintbrush and you get a little bitty trowel, and you go out there and you dig. And you teach the children how they do archaeological digs. And that's one of the stories that they read to you, is about an archaeological dig. And then in the second generation of that, you wouldn't be doing that archaeological dig, but you might be going and studying some different archaeological digs. You might go learn about King Tut and archaeological digs around that. And in the high school, you would do a research paper on archaeological digs. And so it goes to different levels for different ages. It is not super expensive. I think it was, I'm thinking it was around $50 for a year for the curriculum and the workbook. I believe that there are tests that you can get for the upper levels. The other thing that this did was it has maps. And so it actually includes a geography lesson in with the curriculum, and it has coloring pages for the younger kids too. I loved it. My kids really enjoyed it. We went through, I think we got through 3 of them. We never did get through that 4th one. And by the time we got to junior high and high school, we were doing other things. So we didn't do the Story of the World anymore. Eagle's Wings. I really liked this curriculum as well. It is definitely Christian based, considering God's creation, obviously Christian based, but it has really good science lessons in it. And that's what it's for. It's for science. It's got a CD. I don't remember using the CD very much, but the workbook has like bugs. It's got all the diagrams with the bugs. It's got all the diagrams with the circulatory system. It's got all that sort of thing. And I really liked the science content in it. It wasn't super like if you're not doing earth science, you don't really have to worry about too much with the Christian stuff. But as biology, I mean, biology is biology. So we really liked this one. It was very hands-on and very coloring and labeling and that sort of thing, diagrams. So on a budget, I was on a budget. So some of these things I bought the Story of the World new. I bought the Eagle's Wings new because somebody recommended it to me. Language Arts Through Literature, I bought that used. A number of times people gave me things. People would give me curriculums all the time, and I would try them out to see how they worked, which is why I've done a lot of curriculums. I've tried the Abeka books. I've tried a lot of different things because people would give me those things when they were done with them. So if you're on a budget, there's a lot of low cost and free resources. You can go to eBay and you can find used curriculums of the ones above that we talked about. Just because they're free or low cost does not mean that they are not as good. Some of these curriculums are excellent. It depends upon how you utilize them with your kids. Some of them you have to be a little bit more creative, and almost all of them you have to keep your own scores and your own grades. We never kept grades until they got to high school. The only time it really matters is you need those grades to be able to send them to college. Otherwise, grades, it doesn't matter what grades they are as long as they learn the material and they know the stuff. If they learn how to read, you don't need a grade that says that they learned how to read. They know how to read. So those are things. Now, with curriculums, the other thing that you can do on a budget is if you have a social studies curriculum, once they've learned how to read, you can use that social studies curriculum or science curriculum, just have them read the pages in the science and the social studies curriculum, and they learn those vocabulary words and they learn those things. You still have to teach them grammar, which is a little bit separate. You still have to teach them math, but you can learn to read on any book as long as it has words in it. And you can learn to spell with any book as long as it has words in it. One of the books that I found early on, I went to a half-price store and I found a book that was teaching adult people to read English. And it had a list of 600 of the most used words in the English language. I used those as my spelling words. I took all of those words, I put them on index cards, and we did flashcards with those spelling words. And I didn't need a spelling curriculum for that. There are spelling curriculums, and I did not cover those in this curriculum. There's some good ones out there. I didn't really use very many of them because it just worked to use this other stuff. So let's see here. So the first one is Easy Peasy All-in-One Homeschool. This is a free curriculum. It is Christian based. It was originally started by a lady who was a missionary overseas who had a whole bunch of books, and she wrote this curriculum for her kids. She had a number of them, and she used the books that she had and used that to create this curriculum. It has since moved to completely online, and you don't have to have the books in order to do it. You could probably do it with the books, but you don't have to have them. I liked this, and if I were writing a homeschool curriculum, this would be really one of the ways that I would really love to do it, because this really did a lot of the combination learning that I was talking about earlier. For kindergarten through 8th grade, you use the Easy Peasy All-in-One Homeschool, and it's allinonehomeschool.com is what the right here what the URL is, and they take curriculum. Some of them has been written since then by other people that specialize in different things like biology and that sort of thing. And you can go on there, and it is for kindergarten through 8th grade, it is actually broken up by grade levels, and it tells you, okay, go here and you can do this for this class, this for this class, this for this class, this for this class. Now, when you move into high school, it is the Easy Peasy All-in-One High School, and that is allinonehomeschool.com. It is also free. They do not do this the same way for the high school. They don't break it out by grades. They break it out by classes, more like you would do in college. And so you need to know that you need, 4 Englishes for high school. You need 4 maths for high school. You need, 3 sciences, those things. But a lot of these classes are actually college classes that they have that are out there for free, and they've just given a link to it. I believe my kids took Spanish from the University of Georgia because their curriculum out there was free, and this linked to it, and that was the curriculum that they recommended for learning Spanish. So if your child does not do well with online school, this will not work well for them. But if your child doesn't mind the online school, it's excellent. It was really, really good curriculum, but it is Christian based. I don't think the high school is quite as Christian based, for sure not math and Spanish and that sort of thing. You can go through and you can pick and choose out of this, which is really nice, and it's all free, which I loved, because at the time we didn't have a lot of money to put into curriculum. Liberty's Kids, if you want to teach your youngers, especially a lot of the American history. Liberty's Kids is a cartoon that was done on PBS, and you can go to YouTube and they have it there. You can watch all of them, and it's a lot of fun. It's passive learning, so don't rely on it completely, but it does tell the story of early America. Okay, when my kids were little, I would say first through third grade, maybe even fourth or fifth grade, I used the books that I would get over at Sam's Club. You get these big fat workbooks that are supposed to tell you everything that you're supposed to know for first grade. And in math, everything you're supposed to know for first grade. In English, here's addition and subtraction. First grade, this had reading, words, grammar, that sort of thing. It was fun. It has a lot of pretty coloring pages where you do the color by number by adding up the sum and then getting the number, and then you fill it in with the color that it's supposed to be. A lot of puzzles, a lot of fun stuff. I did that for sure for kinder through third grade. I think I did it through fourth for my second child. They have them, the summer ones, physics experiments, spelling for Minecrafters, any of those things. These things, don't discount them, because they really work for your kids to learn how to do things. And you don't need a super expensive homeschool curriculum in order to teach your kid how to add. You don't need a super expensive homeschool curriculum to teach your kid how to read. Grammar, it's a little harder, but starting out with these things is definitely not a bad start. Engineering activities. This page has the first grade workbook, first grade skills. This was one of them that I actually used. You can use these over the summer. You can use these, you get first grade, you can use these in the first semester, and then the second semester you start the second one. And they're overlapping some of the curriculum, but the kids don't mind doing them. They don't fuss about it. If you're using Saxon Math in kindergarten, which is where I started, they were like, no, Mama, this is boring. This is terrible. So I pulled out one of these. It's the exact same stuff. It just had colors and it had puzzles. So I used that. Khan Academy. Khan Academy is great for adults, but it's also great for kids. They have up to first grade with Khan Kids. They've got all these grade levels. You can get all these calculus, pre-calculus, biology, high school biology. All of these classes are offered Khan Academy. Khan Academy is free. They do ask for donations, but the work is amazing. And one of the things that I know a number of people have done is when they get into high school curriculums and it gets hard, if they're doing Saxon or something like that, you can look up a concept on Khan Academy, and there will be a video that describes the concept and teaches the concept. So even if you're not using it as your curriculum, you can use it as a supplement. Okay, Crash Course. My son did this for some of his high school work. Crash Course is a YouTube channel, and they teach everything from psychology to English to history of the world. I mean, everything. They have all kinds of different classes that you can take. They usually are about, I don't know, a 2 or 3 week class if they take it every day. And it's kind of like you would do if you were somewhere in college where you would take like a block of classes. And that's how this works with Crash Course. So it worked really well for my kid because he really liked project type situation. Duolingo. I personally use Duolingo to learn different languages. It's free. You get it on your phone. It sends you a reminder every day to take it. You can do 1 lesson a day. You can do 4 or 5 lessons a day. It's gamified. You get points. You get, fun little sticker stuff. You can dress your duo up in different clothes. It's fun, but it actually works. I've been learning Spanish and I'm doing okay with it. It's not like super high-end Spanish, but if your kid stays on it, they will learn it. Resources to buy curriculum. You can buy curriculum all kinds of places. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Mardel. If you go to Mardel, if you got an actual store, you can go in there and you can look at the curriculums if they're not already plastic bound or whatever. Barnes & Nobles has a lot of different things. Half-price books and eBay. You can get used stuff. You can buy, let's see, I've got here, this is Rainbow Resources. You can buy Bob Jones, different study books, 100 Days of Reading Summer Journals, reading skills, study guides, all kinds of stuff. They have everything from reading literature through games and puzzles, library builders, art, music, foreign languages, anything you can think of. Rainbow Resource had. It used to come in a catalog that was that thick. Now it's all online. You can also go to christianbook.com, and they have a lot of homeschool curriculums. Obviously, they're going to be Christian-based. So keep that in mind. But they've got all of it, Abeka, ACE, PACES, Apologia, Math, all kinds of stuff. Some of the stuff that I've gone over, I didn't talk about Explode the Code or some of these others that are there. Go look at it. There's a lot of stuff there. And it's all different budget levels as well. This is the ultimate list of secular homeschool curriculum for K-12, and it's called at steamsational.com. And you can go there, and obviously they have all these different grade levels, secular school. I don't know if I mentioned earlier, Charlotte Mason is also secular. It is not a Christian-based. So I think, yep, that's all I've got. If you go to homeschoolcon.org, our website, or you go to our Facebook page, you will find we have a course, a talk that one of my friends did that was Intro to Homeschool 101. And I've got a ton of more stuff there, but the Intro to 101 talks a lot about different ideas that homeschoolers need to keep in mind when you're buying a curriculum. That's why homeschoolers don't like to answer the question, what curriculum? Because most of the time we've used a ton of it, and it's going to completely base on everybody's different families. What is a good curriculum for your family? You want to do it based on what is good for you. So Misty is the one who does the Intro to Homeschool 101, and she has some great tips there and a lot of things to think about. So if you go over there, check it out, homeschoolcon.org. And that is it for this curriculum look. And I hope you got something out of it, and I hope it helps you. Just keep in mind, homeschooling can be really, really cheap. It can be free. It can be really, really expensive, and it can be anywhere in between. So whatever your budget is, take a look and see what is available for that budget. Start with the budget, start with the way your kid learns and the way you like to teach, and go from there. Don't start with curriculum, because curriculum there's so much of it out there that can be used in so many different ways that you're going to have to find your way through the curriculum. Don't spend a bunch of money until you figure some of those things out. And definitely don't spend a bunch of money until you decide for sure that you're going to continue homeschooling. So, all right, that's it. Y'all have a good day. Thanks. Bye.